Sweet. All right, team. Thanks so much for joining us. Welcome to the Standard Podcast. Today we have a dual threat. This is where we raise the bar, rebuild the culture, and call out the lies or misconception no one else will. This isn't motivation. This is a movement. I'm Thomas Rowe, and today I am joined by my host, Aaron Charles Bowers. And today we're sitting down with Max Rusakov and Calum Kuhn, co-founders of RevU, the AI contract intelligence platform empowering college athletes to do NIL with confidence. Max, a recent SMU graduate with a background in finance and management, leads operations and partnerships with the mission to make NIL safer and more accessible. Cal, the CTO and Solutions Engineer at Coralogix, formerly of Splunk, brings bleeding-edge generative AI and data ops expertise to transform how athletes understand and manage their NIL contracts. Together, they're solving one of the biggest problems in college athletics, giving athletes a smarter, safer way to navigate the complex world of NIL deals. We're diving into the truth behind what it really takes to build identity, discipline, and legacy in sports and in life. All right, let's get into it. Hey, Max, Cal, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. Awesome. You built RevU to help college athletes navigate NIL contracts with confidence. What does raising the bars, or what does raising the standard mean to you, especially in the work where you're doing with to protect athletes?
Yeah, Cal, I'll take that one.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when it comes particularly to contracts, you have to look at average NIL contract, and you have to realize that for majority of the contracts, the median contract right now is worth $50. And when you look at the median costs of legal services or contract review from an actual attorney, it can cost you anywhere from $300 to $500 to $700, depending on where you are. So for us, the concept of raising the bar really came from, hey, can majority of the athletes taking those deals really even proceed with them safely and know that they're not risking to give up their IP rights or, for God's sake, 15% of their future earnings in whatever they do? So for us, raising the bar really came from making sure that every single athlete is able to get an insight from their deal, understand exactly what they're signing, and proceed with it through every single step of the deal until it's over.
That's badass. And that's important, especially, I didn't realize the average is $50 for an NIL deal.
So the average is actually, I think, $1,500. The median is $50.
Got it. What would you say is the biggest lie or misconception you feel the culture of NIL industry sold college athletes about contracts, deals, and protecting their value?
Yeah, I think that there was a vision initially that athletes would have this free money just fall out of the sky, and all they had to do was sign their name on the dotted line and do what they were doing before, just be good at their sport. But the reality of NIL is there are a lot more complexities that have been introduced, where now, as individual athletes, they're transacting with multinational corporations backed by in-house legal teams. And we've seen this problem in the corporate space. One of the biggest limitations to transacting quickly is the deal review process, having to go to counsel to redline an agreement and find a point of compromise. And when you're an athlete that really has no negotiation power, for 99% of athletes, they cannot ask for additional terms, additional conditions, ask for a legal team to negotiate on their behalf. They end up receiving these documents that they often don't know the particularities of, signing for them, and then, as Max alluded to earlier, giving up things like perpetual IP rights, locking them into a deal that would make them pay back all of their compensation if they made one small misstep. And we've seen issues with clauses across the board, but the core of it is that NIL is not a lot more complex than just more money is available for athletes. There's additional compliance work that needs to be done and a whole evolution in this market.
That's incredible. That's actually pretty frightening, because sometimes athletes don't know exactly what they're signing away, do they? They just kind of arbitrarily just start signing, which is, I guess, leads to my next question. Where did you see this lie or misconception play out with athletes? And what was the aha moment for you guys when you realized we have to build something to fix this?
Yeah. I mean, we've seen some bad players all over the board. I think a very big case that actually got me and Cal really involved in this was the case of Javon Dexter, who basically signed a deal. He signed a $430,000 deal as a junior in college. I don't think he spent too much time on legal review of the contract. And only 2 years after he graduated and he was in a league playing for Bears, he found out that he has no rights for his intellectual property, as well as he has no rights for, as long as he has to pay off 15% of his future pre-tax income for the rest of his life. And that really got us thinking, okay, if the athlete of this caliber who's grabbing a deal that big doesn't have a proper support, what's going to happen to guys who are getting, $50 or a pack of energy drinks? Because it's still an NIL deal. There's still a risk of losing something, and the value of it doesn't really matter when company has an opportunity to write whatever they want. An athlete can't interpret it properly.
Oh, that's incredible. All right, we're going to move over to segment 2. Aaron, are you good to go? Aaron's going to tackle identity and legacy.
Yeah, that's me. I'm going to tackle you too. Watch out. So I'd love for you to share with the audience just who you two are. So both of you are going to answer this question. And, beyond how maybe you shared a little bit about like what brought you to this space, but I'd love to know more like, just who you are, why you do what you do. And, this is an opportunity just to share about it yourselves.
Yeah. Cal, you want to jump in first? You want me to start?
Yeah, no, I'll grab this. So Max and I have a pretty similar story about how this became a, issue to us in NIL. So I'll let him take that component, how we ran user interviews, really came from us knowing a lot of the athletes that were apprehensive about engaging with NIL. For my side personally, I'm a technologist. I didn't play college sports. I didn't know a lot of people in that ecosystem. Going to SMU, you naturally meet a lot of them, but I also, outside of that, was involved in combat sports since about 2019. And there's a lot of parallel between combat sports and NIL in that you have athletes who, from the smallest scale transacting with, your local tire shop for a small promotion, all the way up to those that are representing national and global brands. There's a continuum of, expertise that they gain. Their primary goal is to become experts as athletes. And secondary to that is becoming business people, developing a personal brand and something that outlasts your athletic career. And so I saw that the same issue that we see in NIL happening to local fighters. Predatory business practices as part of promotions, or even from the people putting on the events, trying to find some way to support your way through that athletic journey by signing as many deals as you can and really having to undertake that entrepreneurial spirit to support the athletic side. And so that was just a parallel that I saw. But again, the NIL stuff came more along, when I met Max.
Hey, Max, you got to tell me who you are. We want to know who you are, how you came to this. Why RevU?
Yeah. So first I'll start with who we are. Right now we're a company, we've built quite a bit. It's been almost 2 years. I think it's important to mention where it started. And it started with 2 guys graduating college, really wanted to do something special and really wanted to build a solution that can help, and particularly our friends. Because the way we started talking about NIL is originally we were actually building something for tennis players, because that's the background I came from. And as we were interviewing one of my friends who was a college tennis player, she started telling us about some of the horrible NIL deals they've got. And we were like, okay, this is really, really bad. And then from there, we shifted our focus from tennis fully to NIL. And the more athletes we talked to, the more obvious the issue has become.
Awesome. Yeah, I love your passion for wanting to get this right for the athletes and making sure that it's safer and more accessible. So what does legacy beyond performance mean to you? You guys have talked about building brands once these people are done playing their sports, and especially when you build something for the next generation.
Yeah. I mean, with NIL, what are we really talking about? There's a couple of different business models running in the background, but one of the biggest ones is media or NIL licensing. As an athlete, as an influencer, as a public persona, your NIL is one of your most valuable assets. And it's something that you can't just create a new LLC and have a new version of it to sell. Your NIL and who you license it out to follows you throughout your entire life and career. And so just early on, I'm focused on how do we develop the legal technology, the reasoning in the back end to support these athletes. What we initially focused on is limiting scope and limiting, general or non-specific terms. If we can make sure that anything the athlete agrees to is explained within the contract and limited in scope, so either by time or to the scope of the deal, that is a powerful tool to help protect the athlete and their future value if they want to transact with other brands in the future. Exclusivity is one thing that we analyze. Is the contract that you're signing right now going to impact your future ability to transact with similar brands? And so, again, limiting scope, making sure the athlete has as many options as possible so that one deal that they sign in college doesn't follow them for the rest of their life is one way that we see they can preserve their legacy. The last thing you want is to, maybe want to get into broadcasting one day when you retire from the league and you suddenly, have no rights to a certain resource that they'd like to distribute.
I don't think they could hear you.
That's my bad, because I'm in charge of all the technology for this. It's going swimmingly over here. Wrong button. Instead of add to stage, I hit remove. So what's one truth you wish every college athlete, family, or maybe say athletic director really understood about NIL contracts that most people aren't talking about or they don't hear?
I would say a very big thing about it is you have to have your own ecosystem of people, and you need to have your own team you can trust. Whether it's tools, whether it's having your own legal team, financial team, you need to be able to have somebody in your corner who has an expertise in a particular topics and who can make sure that you go through this process effortlessly.
I think like I said earlier, we all thought that money was just going to fall from the sky. The reality is that everybody has their expertise, the thing that they specialize on, and we need to, use those in order to scale NIL.
Kind of a follow-up question to this, and maybe how does this work in relationship to, I get the NIL, but then like the collective money that the universities are paying the student athletes?
It's interesting. Max, if you have any to add, let me know. But we can also and are currently reviewing collective and revenue share deals. Like we've mentioned, our priority is always on the athlete. And so we can analyze those revenue share and collective NIL contracts as any other contract that an athlete is going to have to use. And so we've reached into high school NIL and people just entering the college ecosystem as they're great users of our tool. The schools have tended to be just as litigious or as legally interesting, I'll put it that way, as the brands that we've seen.
Yeah, is there anything you want to add to that, Max? That's it's interesting how the university is set up to protect themselves, but the athlete that they've now brought to play for them is the one that's kind of left out in the cold. And we hear that from athletes when we work with them.
Yeah. I think you literally just said exactly what I was going to say. And just to add to that, was everything that happened in the House versus NCAA. After that, you can call it whatever you want, but let's be real. Athletes are now the employees of universities, especially if they're in revenue share deal. Their priority is to complete their deliverables and to be good in their sport. Education has been pushed backwards. So I think it's very important to understand and distinguish. And when you sign those contracts, you need to understand that you're not a guy who's just going to go play ball for them and they're going to use your name, image, and likeness. No, they're paying it for you now, and they're going to have a completely different set of expectations.
That makes sense. All right, team, we're going to get into segment 3, which is advice across stages. Max, I'm going to start with you, then Calum to you. Max, you were just in college. If you could give advice to yourself as a student with what you know now, or to the current college athlete navigating NIL, what would you tell them?
For me personally, a very big barrier was just fighting against myself. And I think it's a huge barrier for everybody. I think being able to perform and being ready to do whatever it takes in order to get whatever you want is a very important thing. And I think every athlete just needs to realize that people support him much more than they think. everybody loves athlete, especially if it's a college athlete. So
Right.
I think they just need to keep their head up and make sure they're putting in all the right work.
Got it. Cal, from the tech and data side, what do athletes need to understand about what's actually in their contracts? What are the red flags that they're missing?
Yeah, it can be anything. I would say that the general theme is lack of specificity. The biggest thing that you want to be wary of is when you go, what does that mean? Or should there be another sentence there? Those are gaps in specificity that allow the other party in the contract to effectively do what they want or to have free license to enforce or interpret the contract as they will. So specificity, more text is more often going to be your friend when you're dealing with contracts so that you have common ground, common language to discuss upon.
Got it. Okay, that's great for the athlete. Either one of you, Max or Cal, what about for the parents and the athletic directors trying to support their athletes? What should they be looking for and what questions should they be asking?
Yeah, the first thing that they should maybe even not be specifically looking for, but thinking of relative to our last question is the college coach is no longer just providing an environment for your athlete to flourish in. There is a even more deeply vested financial interest in the performance on of the athlete, both on and off the field. And there are walls that the coach and the athletic department have to stay within in regards to compensation. It's like any other employment negotiation. And we now have to think of those common points of employment negotiation. Am I getting the most that I can get right now? Will I want to come back to the table later and revise anything? So just taking a pause, speaking through things with a trusted individual, like an attorney or an agent. There's tons of pro bono services along those lines out there, as well as tools like RevU. Just taking a pause, going through all of your options. It seems so simple, but it's something that so many parents miss and can help, their athletes be more diligent in.
That's all. You want to do your due diligence up front. The small amount of time you spend on it now could create less headaches later, right?
Absolutely.
Right on. Okay, we're going into segment 4. Aaron, I'm going to turn it over to you. Team, this is rapid fire. Aaron's going to ask a question, and each one of you can answer it.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one of you. I'm going to say a word. I want you to finish my statement, and then I'll flip to the next person. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay, Max, you're up first. You're in the hot seat. So discipline equals?
Success.
Leadership equals?
Oh, is that still me?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm going to ask you all of them, and then I'm going to ask Calum all of them.
Leadership equals productivity.
Love it. Faith equals?
I would say success as well, because, there's a lot of times when there's nothing but faith pushing you forward.
I love it. What about legacy equals?
Sacrifices.
What's one thing you would never compromise on?
I would never compromise on abandoning somebody who needs help.
I love that. And if you could put one message on a billboard for the next generation of athletes, what would that be?
When it feels scary to jump in, that's exactly when you should jump in. Otherwise, it's too late.
I love it. Jump in, do it. It's scary. Okay, Calum, it's your turn. Okay, discipline equals?
Freedom.
Leadership equals?
Family.
Faith equals?
Context.
Legacy equals?
Importance.
What's one thing you would never compromise on?
Good food.
And what is one message? You could put it on a billboard for the next generation of athletes. What would it be?
Run until you hit glass.
Nice.
I love it. Okay, Thomas, take us home.
All right. Final segment here, team. Max, Cal, before we wrap up, is there something that we didn't touch on today that you feel college athletes, families, or universities need to hear about NIL contracts and protecting their value?
Max, you can grab this one first.
Yeah, would you mind repeating your question? It kind of froze a little bit for me.
No problem. It was before we wrap up. What is it that something we didn't touch on today that you feel college athletes, families, or universities need to hear about NIL contracts and protecting their value?
I think we've covered most of the things. I think I would want to come back to make sure that you read things, and also make sure that you know that even if you're just able to read the contract, you probably, unless you're a lawyer or have some sort of help in that standard, you're not going to be able to interpret a lot of stuff. So make sure you're very careful with what are you committing to, because that can define your future next few years of your life easily.
Got it. Cal?
Yeah. To Max's point earlier, reach out for help. I have worked in a lot of different industries, and I've never seen so many people committed to a vision of helping others than the people in NIL. So, like I mentioned, lots of pro bono services out there, lots of people willing to schedule a call and walk you through things or offer help in any way they can. So get active, network, and there are people out there looking out for your best interests.
Right on. Before we wrap up, this is more of a question about, I guess it would be kind of like a sci-fi question in the sense, one of the questions that conversations Aaron and I were having is, do you ever think that AI is going to ever get so far ahead that AI will replace actual athletes or actors in entertainment, or do you think it's going to hit a ceiling?
Max and I were actually talking about this the other day. There's a concept called the uncanny valley, which in animation or in media talks about how relatively realistic things are. There's a progression from like Simpsons cartoons all the way to like a perfect 3D animation. And the area in the middle can make people very uncomfortable. And that's kind of the area we're in right now. It's imperfect in some ways, it's doing really well in other ways. What I think we're realizing through this is that small quirks or imperfections let us know that something is real. That's one of the reasons I think that the Ring videos, the AI-generated doorbell videos have been so popular, is they're flawed enough to look real.
Right.
And I think that with sports, with anything like that, there's an element of human imperfection and striving to perfection that makes it very interesting. And having something preordained, there's definitely a space for it. That's why WWE exists. But at the same time, the UFC exists, where you have unpredictable knockouts.
That pretty much sums it up, Aaron, for what we were talking about. That's pretty cool. Guys, listen, thanks so much. Where can people connect with you to learn more about RevU?
Yeah, we're on all the social medias. Our Instagram, our TikTok is RevU.nil. We're super active on LinkedIn. That's where we post most of our updates. Our LinkedIn is just RevU. You can also find me on LinkedIn. My name is Max Rusakov. I spend probably 8 hours a day on LinkedIn. So extremely responsive if you ever need anything. And also follow up on our website, www.revu.deals. That's where we're probably going to be able to find the most interesting stuff, as well as schedule demos and check out what we're actually capable of.
Awesome. Cal, anything you want to add as far as contact points?
Nope. That's all, Max. I stay in my hobbit hole and write code.
He
We
just
can
stays
tell.
there.
I love it.
He just stays there and codes. Love it. Hey, Max, Cal, thank you guys so much for joining us and sharing your story and your truth. If this conversation challenged you, inspired you, and made you think differently, do two things for us. One, share the episode with someone who needs to hear it. A college athlete signing an NIL deal, a parent trying to protect their kid and their student athlete, an athletic director building resources for their program. Two, connect with Max and Cal at RevU and let them know that what hit you and what touched base or touched home with you. If you're navigating NIL contracts and want the confidence that comes with actually understanding what you're signing, RevU is your tool that you'll need in your resource. If you're an athlete, parent, or coach ready to raise a standard, check out Blueprint to Blue Chip. You could find us at blueprintbluechip.com. We help athletes build identity, discipline, and legacy that goes beyond the game. If you're ready to get clear on who you are beyond the game, join us for our 3-day reset, which is Win, Play, Show at blueprintbluechip.com. It's designed for athletes who are ready to rebuild their foundation. And if this episode resonates with you, take 30 seconds, team, and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It helps us reach more athletes, parents, and leaders who need to hear this message. This is the Standard Podcast, and this movement only grows when we raise the standard together. Talent fades, but truth endures. Raise the bar, rebuild the culture, become the standard. We'll see you next time. Max, Aaron, Cal, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, everybody.